Hello, and welcome to episode 283 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1,001 Movies You Must See Before You Die from 1953. Directed by Fred Zinnemann, we have From Here to Eternity, starring Burt Lancaster, Frank Sinatra, Montgomery Clift, Deborah Kerr, Donna Reed, great cast, Ernest Borgnine, and a really nice cover here featuring that kind of iconic image of the two kissing on the beach as the waves roll in. So this is a Blu-ray I bought like over 10 years ago, and I've now watched it. From Here to Eternity. I really did not know what to expect with this film. Apart from that, again, famous scene. It's won many Academy, I'll leave that for free, many Academy Awards. So it's one of those kind of Hollywood classics, right? I started watching the kind of they call it like the trivia track, the picture-in-picture trivia track on the Blu-ray. Incredible work. I will probably watch it all at some point, but it kind of is like interviews in little boxes as the film is playing, text kind of information. And what I gleaned from the beginning is that this was based on a novel that came out a couple of years previously and was a quite controversial piece of work, actually. There was a lot of profanity, talk of prostitution, and violence within the military and things like that, and it was deemed unfilmable as a novel that could be adapted to the big screen. But it was nevertheless adapted for the big screen, and this is set, let's see, was it 1941, I think? On a military base in Hawaii, as the fateful day in December 1941 draws near. So we open the film on this American army base in Hawaii, and Montgomery Clift, his character's name is Pruitt, and Pruitt, he's this bugler, I think they call him, plays the bugle, and he comes in, and he was also a former boxer. He used to box as well in the army, but he was sparring with a friend, and his friend got hurt, and so he swore off fighting from that moment on. But and I'm going to mix these things. I watched this last night, but I'm going to mix these up anyway. Is it the captain? I think it's the captain, right? So the captain of the base, he really wants to win the boxing league. And so that's why he brought in Montgomery Clift's character, because he heard that he actually saw him fight the previous year or something. And he's like, I need you to kind of help us win. And he's like, I'm not fighting. And he's like, well, okay, you're going to refuse that, but you're going to find things tough here. And so all the men in kind of the squad, they're gonna pressure him. They're gonna put the boots in, and a lot of the film is about the struggles that Pruitt goes through in maintaining the fact that he will not fight. And the guy that he works under, along with the captain, is played by Burt Lancaster, Sergeant Warden. Yeah, and Warden. Burt Lancaster's character, he has his eyes on the captain's wife, Deborah Kerr, whose character's name is Karen, and they eventually begin this kind of very charged affair. Whereas Pruitt, he ends up kind of going into town on kind of a weekend pass, and he goes to this gentleman's club and meets with a prostitute, who eventually we find out her name is Alma, played by Donna Reed. And to be honest with you, the main draw for me for this film was Donna Reed, because I love her in It's a Wonderful Life. I think she's just absolutely beautiful and just so memorable in that film. And this is quite a few years afterwards, and seeing her as this prostitute is quite a different experience compared to the very wholesome performance and character that she portrays in It's a Wonderful Life. But so Alma becomes kind of and that's kind of like a classic story in and of itself, isn't it? Kind of the man who falls in love with the prostitute and all the kind of implications of that, and even actually that the same kind of through line can be put to the characters of Karen and Warden. Burt Lancaster's character, where he falls in love with the captain's wife, but he keeps hearing stories that, well, last time we were kind of on the old base, she was running through all the men, and so he gets jealous of the fact and maybe can't let go of the fact that she's slept with a lot of men and that kind of stuff. But, she has a very tragic backstory, and Deborah Kerr, great performance. She really, really reminded me of Sean Young. I had to even look up if she was Sean Young's mother. Like, she just has the same nose and mouth, and there's a kind of I don't know, the confidence. I don't know, the aura around her just really reminded me of Sean Young. I don't know, but anyway, she was great. But Lancaster was really good, as a kind of a firm but kind of fair sergeant, and I liked how his kind of friendship developed with Montgomery, Clift, Pruitt. I mean, right at the beginning, there's a very testy kind of exchange between them. I knew that that was going to soften, but I loved their relationship and their friendship. And then there's also another friendship which comes in the form of Maggio, played by Frank Sinatra. I really don't know the story behind Frank Sinatra and him being an actor, and whether he was an actor first, a singer second, a singer first, an actor second, whether it all happened at the same time, whether this was a one, I don't know. But he borderline steals the show as Maggio. I mean, he's just incredible. I believe he actually won an Academy Award for the performance. And I think Donna Reed did as well, actually. I don't know if maybe Deborah Kerr was more deserving of perhaps an Oscar for her performance in this film. But yeah, this won 8 Academy Awards apparently, including Best Picture for 1953. The iconic scene of them kissing on the beach is one of those classic kind of day for night sequences where it's very clearly shot in the middle of the day, and they've just kind of put a filter over the camera so it's kind of darker, but you can tell it's just shot in the middle of the day. And it's one of those iconic shots that I've always been aware of, and it was nice to see it in context. And I loved this film so much. The vibe of it, the feel of it, the location in Hawaii. And I'm a sucker for a romantic melodrama. And again, to kind of go back to Frank Sinatra, such a great character in Maggio, just really exuberant and full of life and a lovable guy. And he ends up kind of developing this rivalry with Fatso, played by Ernest Borgnine, and he is very formidable as this kind of villainous character, and pitted up against the kind of the slender, kind of thin frame of Frank Sinatra's character. You kind of get this kind of not a David and Goliath style kind of feel between the two of them when you see them on screen, but definitely you get a sense that if they were in a kind of a room together, Frank Sinatra would get his ass kicked. And so yeah, it becomes like a dangerous thing there, and that I found really kind of it got under my skin a little bit, because I really grew to love the character of Maggio, and I really didn't want to see him become brutalized by this Ernest Borgnine character, Fatso. Doesn't like being called Fatso, but everyone calls him Fatso anyway. And then Montgomery Clift is essentially the lead of the film. I mean, you follow Burt Lancaster a lot, Warden and his affair, but after a certain point, his affair with Karen kind of melts into the background a bit, and then we shift focus to Pruitt's kind of affair with I say it's not really affair because she's not a woman who's tied to any man. She's a woman who's tied to many men, but it is this sweeping love affair of sorts with Alma. And yeah, that I loved their relationship and their romance, and the tenderness of Montgomery Clift's performance, actually. I don't know, there was something about that, and I was not surprised when I read up about the guy that he was gay, apparently. There's a sensitivity to him, I think, that just felt different. And for a soldier character, I don't know, that was it's not overt, but it was certainly there, and I felt it, and I enjoy it with because the two different romance stories, there's similar feeling to it, where the woman is very feisty and kind of, is has a background or kind of an established story where they've slept with lots of men and they have to reckon with that within the relationship, but very different in terms of the feeling of dynamics, I think. I feel like Warden, very macho, very kind of forward and stuff, whereas Montgomery Clift, Pruitt is more, I don't know, timid, I suppose, and again, sensitive, I don't know. So it just made a really nice contrast for these two, and it really is just a romantic melodrama with a bit of war thrown in, to the point where when Pearl Harbor happens at the end of the film, I was like, holy shit, I did not put those two pieces together. I don't really know much about Pearl Harbor, but I mean, literally, a plane flies over the base, the compound, and a guy gets shot down with these machine guns. It was so shocking because you really don't see any action in the film up until that point, and that's like an hour 45 plus minutes into the film. And so it was almost this kind of shock to the system when it really became a war film at that point in time. And other things that happen, of course, but yeah, it really is kind of, it's a romantic melodrama, and I just was so taken with it, and enjoyed seeing more Donna Reed. I think she's, again, just such a beautiful woman, but such a great performer. And her character's really complex in this too, and you can tell that she's falling in love with this guy, but she can't let herself fall in love with this guy, and she has a plan. She came to Hawaii to work as a prostitute, essentially, and you know, she envisions more for herself in her life, so she's willing to do her time in that sense to build up enough money where she can go back home and live the good life, and she's so determined to see that plan through. And here comes this wonderful, charming, sensitive guy who she falls deeply in love with, and that ruins her plans just a little bit. And so I like that. I like that friction between them and their relationship. And then you have the captain, who is kind of he's an interesting character too. He doesn't get delved into too much, but he has cheated on his wife Karen in the past and stuff, which is why you more readily accept the fact that she's cheating on him with Burt Lancaster in this film, I suppose. But you get to see a woman who actually feels real passion. When she's on the beach with Burt Lancaster, she's like, I've never been kissed like that before. And that's when it kind of creeps up. They're like, well, how many men have you kissed? And it's gotten under his skin that she's apparently been with everyone on the base and stuff, which is maybe not entirely true, but at the same time, not entirely without kind of a basis in fact either. So there's just lots of great things about the film that I love. There's great moments of tension, sequence where Fatso pulls a knife on Frank Sinatra in the bar, and Burt Lancaster has to kind of just stop it and kind of assert himself. And again, the very, very macho performance, but you do feel a real warmth from him too, which made him a great character, I thought. And there's a particularly great scene where they're both, Warden and Pruitt, they're both kind of at a point in their relationships with these women where they're having a tough time with being in love, and they're both quite drunk, and they sit down in the middle of this road, basically, which isn't really a road, but it's like, it's in Hawaii, but it's like a little clearing in the woods, and it's like a path, and they just sat there, and Burt Lancaster's like, we're sat on the road right now. What if a car just comes? You should go out of the road. I'm fine. I can die. And he's like, well, no, I'll die with you. But it's like this kind of brothers in arms moment where they're both kind of drunk and kind of commiserating and all that kind of stuff. And commiserating, is that the right term? I don't think it is. I need to check that. It's one of those things where I kind of, a word occurs to me and I think, is that the right word? And then I'm not sure if it's the right word, so I'm going to look that up. Is commiserating the word I was looking? But it's a great scene, that I just think that it solidifies their relationship in a way that commiseration, sympathy and sorrow for the misfortune. Yeah, they're commiserating together, and it's a nice kind of moment of union between them. But I just love the vibes of the film. I don't know, it's something about the feeling of the atmosphere, and you can tell that, a lot of it's done on sets, but you can also tell a fair bit was done on location as well, or at least if they found somewhere with a lot of palm trees and it feels like Hawaii, but I don't know, it accomplished a sense of place and a sense of time. And I think when you can achieve that and you get a really nice location and a feel for that location, and then you inhabit it with all these great characters who are written so well and well defined on the page, and then you have great performers who come in and bring them to life. I mean, then you're cooking. It's not surprising to me that it was one of those films that swept the award season. And there's lots of really good looking actors in this, so I can see how it sold well and was a big success as well. But it is also something that deals with, again, like kind of brutality in the army. It's not really vicious or anything in that sense. I've seen much worse in those terms of storytelling with, corrupt officials in the police force or the army, and people being put through kind of torturous situations. But you do see Montgomery Clift they just put the foot down on this guy because he won't fight. And spoilers mildly, I guess, but I love the fact that he doesn't fight. It feels like it's building up to that moment where he has to fight and stuff, and you maybe even think he's going to. He's like, I'm going to fight, and and that'll make things better with with my partner, with Alma, and there's kind of a whole situation there where if he fights, and maybe he can progress in the military, and then he'd be able to go back to the States with her. So you feel like, okay, maybe he is going to box, but then he doesn't. So you have all those situations where he's pushed and pushed, and he just won't rise to the bait. But you know that every man has his limit, and so you know that it's going to get pushed too far. But yeah, it deals with those things, and I think just in general, as a character study, and seeing the different kind of love affairs at play, I just thought that this film was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Is it a film you should see before you die? I'm not sure, because I loved it, but do I think it's like a must-see movie? I don't know, because sometimes a film just speaks to me, and it doesn't really need to be a film that's like technically great or anything. But maybe it is. Maybe it is because of the strength of the characters and the journey that it takes you on. And it has its place in history as one of those kind of really big successful movies. But does a successful movie mean you have to see it? I don't think so. So I'm kind of on the fence about this one. I really don't know. I guess compared to other, and this is really when I feel conflicted on the answer to the question, is it a film you should see before you die? I think back to films that are in the book, like Heaven and Earth Magic, or Wavelength, or Salo, or In the Realm of the Senses, or Bridesmaids, right? And I just think, yeah, this could definitely go in there above like any of those films. In fact, all of them combined. There's certain films I've just scratched my head like, really, that one. And obviously everything is subjective. It's all your own taste. But I'm very much aware of the fact that I love this film more than maybe it's a must see before you die movie. So that I find kind of tricky. But I did love the film so very much. This one I'm keen to go back to again already. Yeah. Sometimes it's just nice when you love the characters and you like spending time with them. And, yeah, there's kind of moments of friction and, not action, but like, explosiveness in small little pockets in the film. Again, there's no real action until the very end of the film when there's kind of the Pearl Harbor incident take. You see documentary footage of that, which was interesting. So it kind of gives it a feeling of authenticity, which is probably quite vivid at the time. Doesn't quite hold up today in terms of just because you can just see the quality of the film print of like all the scenes that they shot in the film is excellent, and then you get this really lower quality kind of newsreel footage, which doesn't really gel well with the footage of the rest of the film. But that is certainly a very dramatic ending to the film to include that. But beyond that, it's not a film that's overly exciting in terms of, again, explosive moments. But it has there's an explosivity, which probably isn't even a word, to the inner workings and emotions of the characters, I think. And that makes for just a super enjoyable and just well-made movie. It's a well-made movie, But I don't think any point of it was like, oh my God, that was an amazing performance, or oh my God, that was an amazing sequence. Just all of it was just super enjoyable. So I don't know, man. Is it a film we should see before you die? Yeah, I'll say yeah. It's a soft yes. Compared to other films, I think it does deserve to be in there. But I think I love it more than it is a must-see movie, if that makes any kind of sense. I think it does. I'm not sure. You can be the judge of that. Have you seen it? What do you think? Let me know. And I'm glad I've seen the film with that iconic image of the two kissing on the beach. And I always thought it was Donna Reed who was that woman, because I knew that Donna Reed was in the film, and I assumed, hey, it's Donna Reed. She's beautiful. Why wouldn't she be on a beach kissing someone? But yeah, I like how her character's a bit more different, a bit more. Well, and that's interesting because the Deborah Carr character of Karen, she is a very tough, stern woman, and the dialogue is so great, and she delivers it so brilliantly. But there is a much more vulnerable core to Karen than there is with Alma. Alma's very tough, and you hear about her backstory and stuff, but I think that she she's made of tougher stuff. Though you can argue that Karen has gone through something much worse as well. So that kind of, it fits the way, I guess, that their resolve is displayed on screen. It's another great moment is when Montgomery Clift Pruitt, he kind of convinces Donna Reed's character Alma to go up to, was it Lorene? Was that kind of her fake name? I think it was. He convinces her to kind of join him. They go to a private room together, and in comes Sinatra, just with a bottle of. He's a great drunk performer too. Like, he does a great drunken performance, and he comes in and gives him a bit of alcohol and stuff, and just the way that she is with him is just really interesting. I don't know. I love that scene for whatever reason, and yeah, I guess I won't go into spoilers or anything. But the way that it ends was not quite what I was expecting. And I think maybe that the ending is not what I would have wanted, I suppose, but it was probably the best ending for the story. And I think that is also part of why I wouldn't be like, oh my God. I feel like if the ending had made me go, oh wow, what an ending, I would have easily said yes to this. But the ending was what it needed to be, but it was, a more realistic ending, I think, and that isn't quite as enjoyable as the kind of the flight of fancy that the film takes you on, I think, as someone who is at heart a romantic person, and I love romantic stories. The way that it all plays out is a bit more like it probably would in real life, and that's maybe not the kind of rosy kind of, romantic idealism that you expect to see in most films, especially in big Hollywood pictures. So yeah, and not to say that it's an outright tragedy or anything like that, or that nothing works out, but it's dealt with in more of an adult way, I think, towards the end, and that was I think the right choice. But in my heart of hearts, I think I would have preferred the off into the sunset, happy ending, waving at the camera kind of thing, where it's just like, yeah, they all lived happily ever after. But again, needless to say, the film ends with Pearl Harbor, or at least, that takes place right near the end of the film. So, draw your own conclusions if you haven't seen the film. It's not a film that ends with the most perfect of, situations for all characters involved. And I guess one moment I think about is when Pruitt kind of pays tribute to someone in the film with the bugle. It's talked about at the beginning of the film that he is this bugle player, and we do see him play earlier in the film too, but this moment where he's just at dawn kind of playing it with tears streaming down his face, it's a really powerful, touching moment, and I guess that's one of the marks of a great film, I think, is when you have those moments like that can really resonate. And that was one that I thought was just, again, powerful is really the only word I can think of. So I did want to kind of name check and kind of single out that one particular moment as a great performance from Montgomery Clift, but just a wonderful movie moment, the kind of thing that can just play out with images, a performance, and in the case of the bugle, the music. I will leave it there. I've rambled on. I think I lost my way a little bit there, but I think I did a decent enough job conveying how much I enjoyed, nay, loved this film from here to eternity. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. It is a light yes from me. It's probably a film you should see before you die.